guys, V here after a little bit of a hiatus. I know not much has been posted in the last month or so, but that'll be changing here shortly. I couldn't finish 2019 off without doing some sort of review video, and what better way to showcase my favorite games of the year than with a top games list. Out of over 100 games played, I've somehow managed to narrow the list down to my top 20. These are the games that stood out, made an impression, and at the end of the day served as a firm reminder on why we do what we do. My only criteria for this list is that the game must have had a PlayStation release in 2019. You'll see some games that came out on PC previously, but we are solely looking at PlayStation dates for this. So, without further ado, let's get this going and rock and roll. Luna is arguably the most innocent game you'll find on this list, but that doesn't mean it deserves any less spotlight. Luna tells the story of a small red bird whose naivety and a large blue owl have caused the moon to disappear, leaving the world around them dark and barren. Luna will need to harness the power of the stars and his fellow animals to restore light and color to the land, as well as to return the moon to its fullest self. Luna gives the player the option to play in standard mode or in VR, and they can even switch between the two to get the full experience of them both. While the graphics in the VR version do take a hit, it's not enough to take away how delightfully colorful the game is. The one fault about VR mode is the range of the play area and sometimes not quite being able to reach the stars and the constellation puzzles, but that can be easily fixed with a quick resyncing of the camera and controllers. With a storyline simple enough for even the youngest of gamers to follow, Luna becomes more and more of a narrative experience as the game goes on. While it goes without saying that the game is in fact oriented towards a younger audience, Luna still offers enough enticement to keep older gamers interested and attuned to its beauty. The game really does offer a stress-free and relaxing experience to all who play it. Erica is the odd one out of this entire list simply because it's not so much a game, but more an interactive movie experience. Sure, you hit a button every now and then and can consider that being playing. The enjoyment comes from watching the game play out in front of you more than actually making the decisions. Erica is an FMV game that rivals similar decision-based thrillers such as Until Dawn and Heavy Rain. The big difference between those games and Erica, in my opinion at least, is the lack of plucking. With most decision-based games that involve multiple people, if someone dies, the scene doesn't change. The only difference is their character is plucked out. Everyone else is still in the same spot, says the same things, etc., etc. Erica, however, is different in that you can tell they reshot a lot of the scenes from different angles to really give the feel that your choice mattered, even if at the end of the day it kind of didn't. So what is it all about? Erica takes you on an investigative adventure after a severed hand is left in a box on her front doorstep. She joins a team of detectives as they investigate her family, and her family's dark past, all while being confined to the far from welcoming Delphi house. The actual ending of the story and what Erica discovers will be up to you and the decisions you make. If you're looking for a game that you don't have to put too much attention into, Erica offers a fairly easy time for players. The challenge comes in the form of those glorious trophies and achievements, as completing them will require you to not play through the game once, not twice, but a whopping minimum of 5 times. With that being said though, the story moves at a good pace to where even after playing it more times than you can count, it avoids feeling too boorish and less of a suffer to get through. It's a well-made effort on an FMV style game, and one that I hope opens the door for more games like it to start popping up. The Walking Vegetables is a twin-stick shooter that deserved a lot more spotlight than it got, and you cannot change my mind on that. It's clean, it's fast-paced, and it is quite challenging, but also rewarding for those who stick with it. You play as the newest member of Department Radical, which is described as the grooviest place on Earth. Their main goal is to protect the planet from invading aliens, more specifically, invading alien vegetables. Take on berserking broccoli, exploding potatoes, and crybaby onions as you pick up the raddest and most gnarly weapons available. Don't get too used to them though, as The Walking Vegetables is a roguelike game, so once you die, you'll lose all your fancy toys and will need to start over. Keep playing to open up perks that you can enable to make your mission easier, but never quite a walk in the park. You have the option to play solo or with a friend for some tag team vegetable takedown action. The in-game challenges are what will keep you going for hours on end as you work on completing every
everything to 100%. Just a fair warning on that though, it's really easy to lose track of time while playing this game. One more time can easily turn into another hour's worth of playing, and the longer you play, the harder it will be to put down. All in all, the walking vegetables is a much welcome challenge in an indie world where fortune tends to favor the easy. Degrees of Separation is an adventure game that tells the story of Ember and Rhyme, who harness the power of fire and ice, respectively. They need to work together to use their powers to traverse through beautifully created worlds in order to find the truth about their own people. First and foremost, this game is gorgeous. The art style is clean and really catches your eye and entices you to play, even if you're not a huge fan of puzzle games. You play as both characters at the same time, so the options to play solo or co-op with a friend are both available. Degrees is part adventure game, part puzzler. Your main objective, outside of simply completing the story of course, will be to collect hidden scarves in each of the levels. They're not overly difficult to find, but will require a little bit of brain power to actually retrieve them, especially as you get further into the game. Degrees of Separation is innocent by nature and doesn't try to be something that it's not, which was well refreshing when playing it for the first time. It knows the story it wants to tell and tells it perfectly. For a few hours of entertainment, it is well worth a humble shout. Where the Bees Make Honey is at its purest form an interactive art piece. It takes you on an adventure as you follow Sunny, an adult living in the real world who is at a crossroads. Should she do what she's always been told to do, or take a chance on herself and live a little? You'll play through a variety of her memories as the seasons pass, each showcasing their own genre. From puzzles to platformers to standard controls to heavy, Bees is a profile piece for the solo developer who worked on it. While the game was already great from the start, it has seen nothing but improvement from the updates and even a DLC patch since its release. Even your guys' favorite rabbit section has been updated. You hear the term passion project a lot with the indie community, especially from developers, and this game is the perfect example of just that. You can tell a lot went into creating the game and the execution was done well, especially for a game that has such a variety of gameplay styles being displayed. Where the Bees Make Honey has a satisfying story that makes the few hours put into it well worth it. What do you get when you mix a cat, a dog, and a lot of mischievous adventures? No, definitely not that one cartoon show that I'll probably get a copyright infringement if I say out loud. You get Cat Quest 2! The sequel to the beloved Animals in Arms adventure game that will have you barking with laughter from start to finish. You play as two kings forced to work together after their lands were invaded by enemy forces. This wouldn't be so bad if they were both cats, of course, but alas, one of those kings is, in fact, a dog. Although their species are natural-born rivals, they'll need to work together to defeat the enemy and reclaim their thrones. Because there are two characters available, Cat Quest 2 gives the option for solo play or local couch co-op. While playing solo does take away from the camaraderie that you would otherwise get playing with another person, you still get to enjoy the game and its wholesomeness littered with terrible, but fantastic puns. Similar to its predecessor, Cat Quest 2 gives the players the ability to choose their own adventure. Fancy a bow and arrow to shoot at your foes? Become an archer complete with a Robin Hood style hat. Prefer magic and spells? Become a mage and harness the power of fire and ice to take down your enemies. If you like to run into a swarm of enemies and mash buttons like a madman in hopes of hitting something with your sword, become a warrior and let your paws do the talking. The route you take is up to you, and because of the open world aspect, the game experience will differ for all players. If you don't want to work on the main storyline, there are a plethora of side quests for you to do, all of which are easily accessible and clearly marked with their level recommendations. It doesn't take long to open up the entire map, so you can grind out a pretty high level without actually diving too deep into the story. But again, how you play is completely up to you. Cat Quest 2 offers a weekend's worth of fun, while an easy yet entertaining adventure the whole family can enjoy. Far Alone Sails is the Don't Stop Swimming game of 2019. It's an adventure game at heart that takes you on a journey through barren lands once bustling with civilization. It's just you and your locomotive, a large vessel that requires 24/7 care to keep running. Throughout the journey, you'll need to tend to fuel, install upgrades, catch the wind in the sail, and do everything you can to keep your locomotive in one piece. The only downtime you'll get in this game is about a 6-second ride through an empty ocean bed. The rest of the time will keep you on your toes with duties to fulfill and puzzles to solve. Similar constantly moving games have come out this year, but Farlone Sales handles the execution side so well that even though multiple playthroughs are required for 100% trophy and achievement completion, it hardly feels like a chore to play over the game again, and actually entices you to try something new. Take a new route, pick up different fuel, be faster than before. For such a simple concept, the game does its damnedest to make a lasting impact on the player, and for all its effort, it does succeed.
Songbird Symphony is one of a few rhythm-based games that, while it looks like it'd be the easiest, actually proves to be slightly challenging if you're looking for perfect on each song. You play as Burb, a little blue bird just looking to find his place in the world. Armed with the power of song and dance, Burb will need to complete quests and help the Great Owl before he can learn the truth about his past. While the main theme of the game is music, it does a fantastic job of being a hybrid platformer adventure game. Instead of a sword and shield, you have rhythm and soul to guide you to victory. Find hidden music notes in each world and unlock more secrets surrounding the mystery of Burb. Like most games you'll find on this list, Songbird Symphony isn't very long at all, but remains entertaining throughout the entire experience. Even if you're not the best when it comes to music-centric games, Songbird offers an ease of accessibility to all skill ranges. No fight requires you to get 100% perfection, and the window for failure is a fair one. This eases the tension that would normally come with similar games and allows the player to simply enjoy the game. The 2D art style works perfectly in Songbird, as I'm not really sure it would translate very well to a 3D, fully immersive game. The graphics emphasize the innocence of the game, and the dialogue keeps the tone humble and is sure to bring you a smile or two. Songbird Symphony offers players a stress-free experience full of magic and music, and if that's ever something you find yourself seeking, look no further than this game. Astroneer is a game that I have gone back and forth on putting on this list up until the very last minute, because the reasons that it would be left off are not because of the game itself, but because of server issues that are currently being fixed. So with a promise of a solution to that problem, I wanted to go ahead and put the game on the list. Like other games on this list, Astroneer saw a pre-2019 release on PC, but didn't come to PS4 until 2019. In this game, you play as, you guessed it, an astronaut, whose main mission is to set up a base and discover the secrets tied to alien gateways and engines, research modules and fly to other planets to collect resources, activate alien structures, and challenge yourself with different environments on each surface. With the ability to morph the lands into whatever you want them to look like, you can build a base suitable for a bachelor or a massive space station created for a king. Astroneer does offer, and recommend, the option for multiplayer. You and a friend can build, discover, and unlock the secrets together, which makes the overall experience of the game far more enjoyable. As stated before though, there is a minor issue with the multiplayer experience regarding server stability at the time this video was posted, but a fix has been promised by the developers. So if you're waiting for that issue to be resolved, you shouldn't have to wait too much longer. Astroneer is the type of game where just playing around takes precedent over doing the actual story-related task. Not unlike Minecraft and similar base-building games, you can easily find yourself starting 2, 3, or even more save files just to try different things and have multiple bases going at once. You can even set up multiple bases on each of the planets if you really want to challenge yourself. It's a game that has a lot of replayability to it. Even when you finish the game and discover all the secrets, you'll still want to just play the game for what it is, and for that reason alone, this game more than deserved a spot on this list. Hyperoxia is the shoot 'em up game of the year. A twin-stick arcade shooter, this game came out around the same time as a few other space-related shoot 'em ups, but easily took the top prize for being the best overall. From the developers of Perils of Baking, Hyperoxia takes you on an adventure through 15 stargazing levels as you rescue astronauts and take down enemy alien ships. The controls are easy and smooth, which is important in games like this. If the controls start to feel heavy, it can easily ruin the experience of fast-paced shooters. But luckily, that's not an issue you'll have to deal with. As you play through the game, you'll collect coins that you can spend on upgrades in the shop. You'll definitely need these, as you can literally feel the difficulty increase as you progress through the campaign. Between more enemies and tighter routes to fly through, better and stronger weapons will be an absolute must-have. Outside of the campaign, there are 3 additional game modes to play in. There's Invasion Mode, a survival-like mode that tasks you with staying alive for as long as possible. Rescue Mode, where your main objective will be rescuing all the astronauts you can. And Shield Maiden, where your upgrades are thrown out the window and it's just you and your basic ship against the universe. Hyperoxia easily offers hours worth of entertainment in a fast-paced package that is easy for most ages to pick up. It's a game that's fun simply for fun's sake and is highly recommended as an addition to your gaming library. Falken Age is one of a few VR-capable games on this list and earns its spot by being a delightful and beautifully designed adventure game that really encompasses you and makes you feel like you are inside the game itself. Even if you don't have a VR, Falken Age still dominates with its easy-to-follow, yet still complex storyline. It leaves you with questions unanswered, but oddly satisfied with where your journey took you. While the graphics do suffer in VR, that's not a fault on the game itself, and is clearly shown through the standard version of the game, where the overall art design stands out as simply picturesque. In Falken Age, you play as Ara, who has recently escaped a prison cell with a baby falcon in tow. Throughout the story, you learn about Ara's family and, more importantly, her ancestors, who were all falcon handlers. With a mechanical army invading, it's up to Ara to learn how to tame her falcon so she can defeat the invaders and reclaim her family's land, thus preserving their traditions and, more importantly, their freedoms. There are side quests available throughout the map, but they're never too far out of the way, allowing you to still enjoy the story at a pace that doesn't feel interrupted by mundane optional tasks. It's a game that knows its limitations and doesn't try to push past what it's comfortable with. You can only take a game centering around falcon handlers and invading armies so far, and the developers did a fantastic job of finding that balance between players wanting more and crying, "Is it over yet?" It's a great adventure for a Saturday. If not for the story, then at least you get to do that little wobbly thing with your falcon. Wobble. Wobble. At first glance, you're probably looking at Lost Castle and thinking it looks similar to Castle Crashers, but let me assure you, they are 2 very different games. Lost Castle is a roguelike RPG where you play as a knight who must clear dungeons and defeat bosses to get their souls, which are then spent on hefty player upgrades. The dungeons are all randomized, so you get a different gaming experience each time. If you're playing solo, your knight will also be randomized at the start of each new game, but if you're playing multiplayer, you'll get to choose what knight you have for the entirety of your gaming session. Lost Castle is more about learning to work with what you got versus building up a skill base. With the weapons being randomized as well, you need to learn what to do quickly or risk starting all over when you die. The difficulty does increase as more players are added, so while having co-op partners greatly increases the entertainment level of the game, it does come at a cost, even if just a small one. Multiplayer gives the option of both local and online play, where you can either attempt to complete the story as a team or battle against each other in the PvP arena, both of which offer their own set of laughs for the players as they take part in just good old-fashioned gaming fun. Whether you play with friends, family, or even solo, Lost Castle offers hours of entertainment and should definitely be checked out. Nifflheim is an RPG adventure game that takes you on a Viking's journey through the afterlife. Stuck in what can only be considered the limbo between living and dead, you need to fight through the undead armies and defeat Hell in order to gain access to Asgard, where only there you'll be able to find your eternal resting place. Nifflheim offers players a variety of activities to do, from clearing multiple dungeons to upgrading their keep. With a fast crafting system spread across 4 different modules, Nifflheim certainly makes you work for your upgrades. It goes without saying that you'll be spending more time collecting resources than actually fighting enemies, but don't take that as boring and dribble gameplay. You'll find resource collecting has its own challenges, including hostile enemy players, an undead army that only comes out at night, and aggressive animals that will not hesitate to kill you if you get too close. One feature I really enjoyed about this game is how they handle dying. While you do technically get punished for falling in battle, the game offers you a chance to right the wrong and redeem yourself, removing any negative debuffs that dying has earned you. If there was an overall theme to pick for this game, it would be redemption. Nifflheim does a great job of keeping a lot of moving parts organized and easy for the player to follow. With well-detailed logs and menus, it's incredibly hard to get lost or forget what you have to do in this game. In other words, it's very user-friendly. While the side-scrolling aspect might be a turn-off for some, you hardly notice it while playing through the game. The hand-drawn art style only adds to how unique Nifflheim is, and the developers deserve a shout for how well they made it work in a 2D environment. So if you're looking for an RPG to just relax in on the weekend, Nifflheim is the recommended game of choice. 1980X is the definition of nostalgia and trades you a trip down memory lane for clean and updated graphics of your favorite classic games. You follow Kid as she discovers a hidden arcade in the city where her life is forever changed. She uses these arcade games to express different events in her life, filling them with thrill and excitement. You can visually see the games that were inspirations for this game, and the variety of games within it offers you a sampler dish of some of the best genres to come from the 80s. From your classic shoot 'em up to your old school text-based RPG, 1980X keeps you on your toes as you progress through Kid's journey. If the gameplay weren't enough, the soundtrack for 1980X is sure to send you over the top, to the point where this is actually my pick for the best soundtrack of the year. The music is far from intrusive in the game and only adds to the genuine experience that 1980X strives to provide. The game itself is short, but that's because it's an episode. We can expect at least one more episode of 1980X in the future, and I personally can't wait to see what the developers have in store. Woven is a well-crafted adventure game that takes you on a journey with Stuffy, a cuddle and cute and floppy-to-boot stuffed animal with more burlap than brain, and Glitch, a mechanical flying firefly who has lost his memory and any sense of where he is. Together, they must travel through the polyester lands of cotton and wool to reach the moon. Pick up patterns and blueprints along the way and stop by a changing station to turn Stuffy into whatever you can imagine. A deer with a frog head and pig feet? Sure. A puppy with cat claws and a rhino's body? Let's do it. There are endless possibilities available when it comes to mixing and matching the different styles and body parts. While that part of the game is fun for a laugh, it unfortunately doesn't last throughout the game. As you progress through the story, you sort of get forced into looking a certain way in order to complete the puzzles and finish the levels. No matter though, as Woven's story is still attractive and enticing to play. With 5 worlds stitched together with their own unique themes, Woven will take you through rolling green hills, across a vast desert, into a deep jungle, and even on top of a mountainside. While the overall tone of the game is that of a light nature, Woven doesn't let you forget that while everything looks bright, there is an underlining dark tone reminding you that evil is still lurking about. The contrast between these light and dark tones is so vast, you can easily tell more than one person worked on this game, though not necessarily in a bad way. The narrator in Woven is also a selling point based on his desire to speak to you in rhyme. It's almost contagious as you'll find yourself doing the same in time. Woven is a get-what-you-see type of game, an adorable stuffed animal to play with, colorful lands to discover, and a humble adventure for all ages to enjoy. Where the water tastes like wine sounds like a line from an old wives' tale of distant travelers seeking treasures, and the game isn't too far off from that assumption. Set in the Depression era of America, Where the Water Tastes Like Wine takes you on a journey around the country as you collect stories and experience for a wolf you woefully lost a bet to. Your interactions with townsfolk will become lore as you get retold your own stories after they've been altered slightly while being passed from city to city. As you travel around, you'll be able to stop at campsites along the road, where you can share a night with a fellow stranger looking to hear some tales themselves. Every story you hear is kept in the catalog, and it's up to you to determine which ones to tell your acquaintances. If they want to hear something sad, you need to choose the right story for their situation. A disheartened veteran might find a story about a boy falling from a tree funny, while a nomadic grandma might find the story more tragic. Where the Water Tastes Like Wine is the definition of a storybook adventure that, while it does require a lot of reading, has an emotional impact that causes you to remember the stories as if you were told them in real life. The variety of characters you meet, along with an of-the-time soundtrack that really makes you feel like you're hitchhiking along the 40, cements the fact that this game takes you on a soulful journey of hope, loss, and redemption. It's a game that leaves you wanting more when it's finished, but a realization that the feeling left over is an intended one, because while the game has finished, your journey has not. To put it simply, Where the Water Tastes Like Wine reminds you to stop and smell the roses once in a while, because you never know who you might meet in the garden.
If you played Deemo Recital on the Vita, then you're in for a welcome update to that game. Deemo Reborn revisits the original game, but expands on it in such a way that calling it a remaster or remake just feels wrong. The game takes you deep into a gorgeously designed castle as you explore every room and search for all the hidden secrets. While it is a rhythm game at heart, the puzzles are what stands out in Deemo, as they offer the player a far more interactive experience within the game versus just simply playing a piano. As with a few other games on this list, Deemo Reborn gives the player the option to play in standard mode, VR mode, and the ability to switch between both easily. While the story remains the same, the music side does change when you switch modes. VR is arguably the easier of the two, as you feel more like you're drumming or playing a xylophone with 2 mallets, whereas the standard version uses 6 buttons on the controller. The easy accessibility of the notes on the controller is the cause for the increase of difficulty, but is a welcome challenge nonetheless. The music scores in Reborn range from somber to cheerful throughout the game, and thankfully don't become a headache to listen to should you need to replay them multiple times. I can't say all the songs are perfect because, as with most rhythm games, individual players will not like a song or two, but for a piano-centric game, the song selection is, in my opinion, well thought out. Even if you don't have the best rhythm, Deemo Reborn still offers a telling story for players to follow along that makes checking out this game worth it.
Sayonara Wild Hearts is a fantastically designed game that is rhythm, adventure, puzzler, and everything in between. First, just to get this off my chest, the soundtrack to this game is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Sayonara takes you on a journey of healing as you play a recently singled woman whose heart has shattered. She'll need to fight her demons and overcome her adversities to get out of the slump her recent heartbreak has caused. Through the power of music and dance, she'll need to use everything within her to come out on top. I do have to say that this game does come with a sensitivity warning, as there are a lot of flashing lights and very bright neon patterns. And really, that's the only bad thing I can say about it. Besides it being too short, of course. Sayonara Wild Hearts takes this rolling rhythm game and turns it into an action game with unexpected camera angles, unforeseen fight sequences, and of course, that badass soundtrack. The game really is too short for how much fun it genuinely provides to the player, all while beautifully telling this woman's story. The challenge in the game comes from hidden puzzles and objectives that you can complete for trophies and achievements, and once you've found out how to actually unlock them, you'll easily spend hours in the game trying to complete them all. Whether you want to go for those challenges or if you just want to do the rhythm side of the game, Sayonara Wild Hearts comes as a highly recommended addition to your gaming library. So I played both Spirit of the North and Lost Ember, but could only choose one to put on the list, and the clear winner was Lost Ember. Lost Ember takes you on the journey of a lone wolf who is joined by quite a peculiar companion. Together they set out to discover the lost secrets of ancient times. You'll have the ability to possess any animal you come across, so you can fly with the birds, swim with the ducks, and even dig around with the moles. The more memories you recover, the more you and your companion will learn about yourself. The soundtrack in this game deserves its own shout, as it only adds to the overall adventure feel of the game. The music broadens as you get into more open areas and goes into a definitive minor tones when danger lurks by, toying with your emotions as you play through the game. While the game itself is not very long, it does offer the player a relaxing experience that they can play through at their own pace. While I do wish the game were a little bit longer, I was still left satisfied upon completing it. There's even been word that the developers are looking into adding VR capability into this game, which would be, for lack of a better word, amazing. So really looking forward to seeing if they're able to make that work or not, but even if it ends up being a no-go, Lost Ember is still an adventure that all gamers should play at least once. Before we get to number 1, I'm going to do a quick little flash through some games that didn't quite make the list, but I still feel deserve a shout. These are my 2019 honorable mentions.
Coming in at number 1 is Figment. I know. The game was released on Steam in 2017, but we're doing a PlayStation list, and this game wasn't released until this year, so it qualifies. Calling this game unique would be an understatement, but I'm kind of at a loss for a better word. You play as Dusty and Piper, who live inside the mind. Their host, for lack of a better word, has gone through something traumatic and has lost their courage to continue on. It'll be up to Dusty and Piper to restore the mind's missing courage. You'll travel through different sections of the brain, all filled with their own imaginative scenery, to pick up memories and rebuild the cerebral core. Once the memories have been restored, Dusty and Piper will learn the truth about what caused so much trauma to the brain. If the storyline isn't enticing enough, the watercolor art style and a soundtrack that will have you singing along as you defeat swarms of spiders is sure to do you in. Figment is marketed as a musical puzzler, and with good reason. Each large boss fight comes with its own dance number that takes the joyous tone of the game into new heights. These musical sequences offer the player a good laugh, which is more than welcome in a game that tiptoes on a fine line between a deep psychological thriller and a fantasy adventure game. Too often do we come across games that try to think outside of the box and try something so drastically different, but fall short of execution. Figment tried something different and did it so damn well that the game becomes more of an experience than an adventure. The game itself is only about 4 hours long, but it feels fair. Any shorter would have left you unsatisfied, and any longer would run the risk of dragging on the story. It's a game that feels good to play and even better to complete, and is certainly one that will stick with you long after you've played it. And that's it. 2019 done and gone. Congratulations to everyone who made the list. It was really hard to choose the top games for the year as the selection was massive. I'll say it until my face turns blue, but this was an absolutely phenomenal year for the indie community. And personally, I can't thank everyone enough for making it as successful and wildly fun as it was. If you're wondering how so many games are able to be covered, look no further than my wonderful patrons whose financial support keeps content like this coming. If you'd like to check out more information on how to join, please see the description down below for more information. That'll just about do it for now, so until next time, never stop playing. Later, guys!